Interstellar was released on October 26, 2014, and was directed by Christopher Nolan, who you might recall directed a certain trilogy of dark superhero films. It was widely hyped and anticipated months before its release, and yet not a lot was known about its plot. But it starred Matthew McConaughey and had something to do with outer space, so that was enough for most movie-going audiences. The film was financed by both Paramount and Warner Brothers, who are typically rival studios, so that says something about a film, when two rival studios join forces to get a movie made. Now, if only they'd do that with slasher movies, maybe we could finally get that Leprechaun versus Chucky versus Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys crossover I've always wanted. First off, this was my favorite film of 2014. It's also my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. This is a hardcore science fiction film, and what I mean by that is that it explores the possibilities of what's out there. Much like Kubrick's 2001, it challenges the boundaries of the unknown, sending a man on an impossible mission to the uncharted waters of another galaxy in order to further the evolution of mankind. Like Gravity, Interstellar examines themes of isolation, the dangers of space travel, not to mention the ramifications of space-time, particularly Einstein's theory of relativity. Set sometime in the near future, a series of dust storms and crop blights has made the Earth nearly uninhabitable. McConaughey plays Coop, a former NASA pilot turned farmer. He's also a single father, raising his son Tom and his daughter Murphy, who is named after Murphy's Law. Tom is more independent of his father, but Coop shares more in common with Murph, who, like him, has a passion for space exploration and engineering. Things take off when Coop and Murph discover a gravity anomaly in their house. While Murph thinks it's a ghost, Coop discovers that the anomaly is actually Morse code, giving them coordinates to an undisclosed location. In the middle of the night, Coop travels to the location with Murph hiding in the passenger seat. When they get there, Coop is reintroduced to his former supervisor, Professor Brand, played by Michael Caine, who reveals that the hidden facility is actually the leftover remnants of NASA, which was publicly disbanded years ago because of the government's shifted focus on harvesting food. This is where the movie gets weird. Brand reveals that they've been gathering in secret, trying to figure out a way to save the human race by getting us off the planet and finding us a home on a new habitable one. Fortunately, they found a wormhole near Saturn that would allow a team of astronauts to travel to a far-off galaxy where 12 potential candidates reside. Brand basically has two plans. Plan A is to figure out a way to get the surviving remnants of civilization off Earth in one massive shuttle. Since that's the more unlikely of scenarios, Plan B is to have Coop and a team of astronauts find a habitable planet and plant embryos so that the human race can at least have a chance to thrive. So that's the mission. Coop's team is assigned 3 planets to explore, with the hope that Coop can make it back to Earth safely to see his family again. This is a deeply heart-wrenching story. For one, Coop has to choose between staying with his kids, who don't really have a promising future, or leaving them behind, potentially never seeing them again so he can try to save the human race. How do you make a decision like that? Of course, even if you haven't seen the movie, you know the choice he makes. Otherwise, there wouldn't be much of a movie. He even tells Murph that if he does somehow make it back to Earth, it'll be years before that happens, and that's the tragedy of the whole thing. This is a movie that you really need to see for yourself, so I don't want to go into heavy spoilers, but I'll give you a taste of what I mean. The 3 planets are positioned near a black hole, and because of its effect on one of the planets, for every hour spent on the surface, 7 years pass on Earth. Yeah. There are severe consequences for going on this mission, and we see the repercussions as the movie progresses. There's a constant battle being fought with not just Cooper, but the rest of the crew, who need to decide whether to proceed with their mission or rush so they can make it back to Earth before everyone they know dies. At one point, time is considered a resource, much like fuel and life support, so you see the characters carefully plan out their actions so they can make the best out of their findings without sacrificing too much time. As you'd expect, things go wrong. That's all I really want to say, but the passing time works to the movie's favor. It's always in the back of your mind, especially when the film switches back and forth between the characters on Earth and Coop's mission. It adds a real sense of drama, and every minute you're hoping that they can somehow make it back to Earth without allowing too much time to pass by. Cooper is by far the most interesting character, but the other one we follow closely is Brand's daughter Amelia, played by Anne Hathaway. Amelia, who Coop also refers to as Brand, is a little more disconnected from humanity than Coop is. We get the sense that the only person she really has on Earth is her father, and on the surface, she seems committed to finishing her mission, regardless of what's at stake. There are several moments where she has to remind Coop that he knew what was at stake when he agreed to leave, and it leads to tension between the two characters. However, we later find that Brand is just as susceptible to personal feelings as Coop is. After they leave a water planet, they get a signal from Man, one of 12 volunteers who traveled into the wormhole years earlier to transmit signals back to Earth. While Mann's data is promising, Bran wants to travel to Edmund's planet, even though Edmund hasn't been transmitting any data. Coop discovers her sole reason for wanting to go there is because of her romantic feelings for Edmund's, which leads Coop to go against her wishes and travel to Mann's ice world. The other notable character is Tars, a fully functioning robot that kind of resembles the monolith from 2001 if the monolith had limbs and could move really fast across water. Tars is full of personality, and what I find fascinating is they didn't just find a human actor to play an android. He's a bit of a smartass, but his interactions with Coop throughout the film make you feel as if he's a living, breathing character. He doesn't have a ton of screen time, but every time he's there, he's just a joy to watch. I don't want to say too much more about the story because, again, this is an odyssey that you just need to experience with a really unexpected turn. It gives off a 2001 kind of vibe during the last act, and it culminates in a real tearjerker. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now we get to talk about the music. Hans Zimmer's score is one of the most epic things you'll ever hear from a movie. It's one of the main characters, and I couldn't imagine seeing it without it. Sure, you can say that about a lot of movies, like just about anything John Williams gets his hands on, but this is one of those rare instances where you could just mute the dialogue, watch the film with just the music, and you'd still get what the film is about. It's really powerful, and even as I'm sitting here doing the review, I can't get that melody out of my head. It truly succeeds in transporting you to another world, and it really sucks you in. If there's one negative about the film, I didn't care much for the scenes on Mann's planet. Mann is played by Matt Damon, and I won't spoil it, but it's another time where the film explores what it means to be isolated on an entire planet, and what that can do to a person on a psychological level. It goes without saying this is not a movie you go to if you're looking for 100% scientific accuracy. When the film came out, I guess a lot of astronomers were pissed off that it took the liberties that it did. However, others applauded how much it got right. My thoughts on that are, if you're looking for accuracy, you should probably go check out a documentary on the subject. The movies are all about transcending reality, escaping the boundaries of real life, and exploring possibilities. And sometimes in genre films, you need to suspend disbelief a little in order to get there. This film is engaging from beginning to end and delivers an emotional punch to the gut that won't soon be forgotten.